what we've seen this season is there have been complaints about everything. There have been complaints about the car's adaptability. There have been complaints about the race engineer. There have been complaints about a lack of chemistry between the two. There are complaints about brakes. There are complaints about, again, all of these could be legitimate. The
Yeah,
power
yeah.
unit as well. These are all, you can say, okay, these things are there. But that's where your adaptation comes into the picture.
Yeah.
Once you're talking about Lewis Hamilton, a 7 time world champion, you also have to question where's the adaptability. Uh, so, first of all, if we're going to talk about Lewis, what do you make of all the excuses from the media? Because they piss
For,
me off. Go for it
I,
first.
I don't know. Like, Lewis has been in the excuse championship since 2022 now, and I think he's been winning every year. So I don't know. Like, whether it's coming from Lewis or the media or the team, it's
Yeah.
just, I don't know. Like, how many excuses can you give before you just say, look, just get faster or get better or adapt? Like, I don't know. Like, it just seems to me like if he couldn't adapt at Mercedes to the car, he's not going to this year at Ferrari. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better, because I think even if he adapts over the second half of the season, Leclerc now is on form, so he's just going to look bad by Leclerc standards anyway, I think. Lewis isn't going anywhere for 2026 anyway. I think that much is obvious. Like, he's obviously going to stick around because he assumes the problems are probably in his head with these cars, and he assumes that's all going to change next year, maybe. Or at least if he can't fix it with these cars, he'll hope that's the situation. I don't think it sticks around much longer after that, because no matter who, I'm sorry, Hamilton fans, we said this a million times before, no one is bigger than Ferrari, and even if you don't believe that, Ferrari believes that. And Ferrari will see it as, if we're spending a fortune on a driver and he's not delivering and he's saying bad things about Ferrari, that driver's going to get replaced pretty quickly. So it doesn't matter what they've, and like, it's not like Lewis has done a ton for the team so far. Like, Vettel was dropped very, very quickly once they had Leclerc there, and once Vettel said even one bad thing about the team, even after Vettel won them tons and tons of races, he was just gone and just basically kicked out. So it doesn't matter how big of a star Lewis is. Like, Ferrari don't give a shit, because Ferrari are bigger. And like I said, whether you agree with that doesn't really matter. Ferrari think that, because if they
Yeah.
didn't, they, like, they impose this on Leclerc, and Leclerc's done lots for that team. So I think, I can't see, unless things drastically change next year, I think the days are numbered for Hamilton. And I'm starting to think like it won't be his choice at this point. That's how bad it's been going. And
Yeah.
like, it's kind of crazy to me that one of the most experienced drivers on the grid, who is statistically the best driver of all time, is the driver who's struggling the most. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of
I
wild.
don't think it's even the case of him struggling the most. I think he's the one who's complained the most.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is probably the more. Look, he left after what I think he had spent 13 years driving for Mercedes,
12,
having a
right? I think,
Mercedes
yeah.
power unit, yeah,
Yeah.
whichever, more than a
Yeah.
decade.
Yeah, yeah.
Ocon also moved after I think 6 years or something at Alpine, and 6 years at Alpine it takes a part of your soul.
It's like,
Yeah, and from
like
there
40
he's
in dog years. Yeah.
exactly. And once you've done that, even he has made the move, and you don't hear the kind of complaints. You don't hear, because what we've seen this season is there have been complaints about everything. There have been complaints about the car's adaptability. There have been complaints about the race engineer. There have been complaints about a lack of chemistry between the two. There are complaints about brakes. There are complaints about, again, all of these could be legitimate. The
Yeah,
power
yeah.
unit as well. These are all, you can say, okay, these things are there. But that's where your adaptation comes into the picture.
Yeah.
Once you're talking about Lewis Hamilton, a 7 time world champion, you also have to question where's the adaptability. And if it is not there, look, there's an easier way to go about it. Just say that, okay, Charles was faster.
Yeah.
You do that and you say that, okay, I'm working on it, I'm improving. But it becomes a bit, I don't know, it becomes far too repetitive. And this is something that we've seen for the last few years, where every time we are talking about things in a manner that, okay, if this fixes, I'll be back to my best. If this happens, I'll be back to my best. And it's not going to work that way, because if this thing works for you, There might be ABC things that work for Leclerc. What then? You cannot drive. At some point, you have to face reality, and the
Yeah.
reality is that look, you're not driving at the same level as Leclerc. It's been 14 races, and if after 14 races you find yourself where you do, it's concerning. I think it will be concerning for Ferrari as well, because spending money, marketing dollars, whatever,
Yeah.
you cannot. This is not sustainable.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Well, it's just also as well, like, I mean, the argument last year was always, we talked about like the argument from fans that we had discussed a few times is like, who owes who more, like Mercedes or Lewis, right? And like, that's a debate you could have, right? And
No.
in my view, no, I'm just saying,
not with sensible people.
no, of course, but in my view it was Mercedes, in your view it was Mercedes. Logically, it's Mercedes. Or Lewis owes
The
Mercedes
right answer
more.
is Mercedes.
Yeah. But the point is, you could reasonably have that debate, even though anyone who agrees it was Lewis is wrong. But my point is, there is some evidence there that you could make to have an actual argument. There is zero reason why Ferrari owes Lewis anything at the moment. And this is the problem Lewis is going to find himself in, and I think it's going to be an interesting one,
I think
because
he found it in Hungary.
it's like,
Lashing out thing was, he's facing some pressure internally now because it's been a bit too long. And again, Fred is handling it as well as he can. But the thing is, there's too much mess that Lewis makes in the media that he has to cover up, and you don't want that. It could easily be a case of Lewis coming in and saying, okay, I did a bad job, I'm a couple of tenths off, I'll continue working and get better. But you're not doing that, in terms of you're not even talking on those lines. It makes it a bit hard for even, you want people to support. Look, a Formula One grid is better and richer with Lewis Hamilton present, right? But at some point you have to question what should be the kind of performance metric that you should be measured against. Either take a role of being the, let's say, a role that probably a Nico Hülkenberg is going to play at Sauber in the future, where he's going to be a mentor to Gabriel Bortoleto, who's going to be the main lead. Maybe take that role up. And I don't know if he's willing to do that. And this was a wild idea, by the way, which was brought up by, again, someone. I actually read it on X. What if, look, if Lewis Hamilton has to win the championship, there's only one way which is possible right now. Leave Ferrari, because at Ferrari, it's not going to happen. Go to a team like Audi, which has already showed that it has the foundations. Spend 2 to 3 years, do something that Alonso did. Grow with the team, build it entirely around you, and then win. What's your view?
Retire.
What?
Just retire. Like, what's the point? I mean,
$100 million. That's the point.
Sure.
Give me that money. I'll also lose to Charles Leclerc for 40 minutes.
I'll happily lose to Charles Leclerc for $100 million. I don't know. I just like,
because first of all, Lewis isn't washed. He's just not as good as a proper elite in Formula One. That's what I look at. And again, same thing could be the case with Alonso, but he's positioned himself in such a manner that if in 2026 he has a title contending car, he's got dibs on it, and he can win a title and just fuck off.
Right? And also the thing is as well, like, the problem is as well, look, we don't have anyone really to compare it to because he's alongside Stroll. But from what we've seen and from what the engineers have talked about, and there's some very good engineers at Aston Martin. When the car is good, Alonso performs spectacularly, right? And like, this is why Stroll looks so bad, because when the car is good, every weekend Alonso is there. And Stroll has one weekend every 14 years where he shows what he can do. And that's it. So like, when we're talking about like at the start of the season in 2023, right? Alonso was getting podium after podium. Yeah. So, and then Stroll is nowhere near the podium. And then you go, well, why is Stroll even driving that car? Like, give that seat to someone better. Yeah. This year, Leclerc has 5 podiums, and the guy you're paying 100 million. I think it's 5. Let me check. I'll check for you now.
It's 4. I think it's
One,
four.
2, 3, 4. It's five. Five podiums.
Five. He has five.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
He
a lot.
had podium at Saudi Arabia, Monaco, Spain, Austria, and Belgium. And he was fourth then in 3 other races.
Yeah.
But Hamilton's also been fourth in 3 races. But the point is, like,
He's been fourth in 3 races.
yeah, at Imola, Austria, and Britain.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, the point is, like, in the situation with Alonso and Stroll, when Alonso's finishing second or third, right, and Stroll's finishing seventh, you're like, why is Stroll even in that car, right? It's like 'cause his dad owns the team. Same this year. Leclerc is 5 podiums, and in each of those races, I've got the results up here. So Leclerc finishes third in Saudi Arabia, Hamilton seventh. Fine. It's in the first 5 races. Give him some time. Whatever. Monaco, Leclerc is second. By that race, you're into what? Race 6, 7, 8? Something like that. Hamilton's fifth. Then you go to Spain. Leclerc's third. Hamilton's sixth. In Austria, it's third and fourth. That's kind of like, fine, fair enough, you know? Then you get to Belgium, it's third and seventh. In Hungary, it's fourth and 12th. So it's just this situation where, for me, it's like, if that's not acceptable for someone like Stroll, why is it acceptable that you've brought in a 7-time world champion on $100 million a year, whatever it is, right? And he's performing exactly like Stroll did compared to Alonso. Like, it's not good enough. It's not good enough for Ferrari. It's not good enough for Hamilton. And to be honest, I just don't know if like those sorts of results are a situation where I don't think that that's changing in 2026. Like, I don't think at this point you can blame the car. And to be honest, it's like, even if it is this generation, every other driver has adapted to this generation. It's been fucking 4 seasons. So if you can't adapt to this generation, then Ferrari's going to be thinking to themselves, well, like, if he can't adapt next year, like, what happens then? Like, we've just wasted a ton of money, you know, like, it's done nothing for us. And yeah, the stock market went up, didn't it? That was all on Hamilton, sure. I don't know. I just think there's a big difference in, like, people will call out in the thing, well, what about Alonso earlier this year? It's like, sure, that was for like 6 races. And second of all,
No. I know it's wrong. I hate the comparison because
and it was luck. A lot of it was luck as well. There was the car adaptation.
Stroll never beat Alonso head to head even once.
But also, even if you wanted to argue that he did, right? I agree. It's a wrong. There's context. There's all these different things.
It's
Even if you just wanted to
similar
take
one to that one.
Sure, but even if you wanted to just take it as results, first of all, fine. If we're going to do it that way, then let's lose all context and just say, well, then Hamilton is the same as Stroll this year. Fine, as I just did, right? So if you want to have that argument, then fine. The other thing is, though, one is driving for Ferrari, one is driving for a midfield team. The stakes are a lot higher. One is on a $100 million contract to drive for Ferrari. The other one is at the end of his career trying to just pull a team up from nowhere. So the stakes are completely different. Yeah. So if Hamilton was driving for Sauber right now, fair enough, like whatever, you know, like if he was driving for Alpine right now, Audi, or like, you know, joining Cadillac next year, be like, okay, that's fine. This is great. He's bringing experience. He went to Ferrari to deliver results and kicked out a guy who was delivering results. And he's performing arguably worse than the guy who he replaced.
Where do you rate him right now in terms of driving ability on the grid?
I want to make it clear this is
terms
not
of
overall
tier list.
career. I just mean in terms of like
right now.
this season.
Yeah. This season, or you can say the last 3-4 years. In the tier list, if you have to create a tier list.
This season in particular, he's not even in the top tier for me. So
Who
he's
are the drivers in your top tier?
So you've got obviously Oscar and Lando, right, are there. I'm not saying this isn't in order, but anyway, for anyone arguing. Oscar, Lando, George, Max, who else? Leclerc, obviously. And then I'd say Alonso's still hanging on to it. He just hasn't got the machinery to show it. But he's constantly doing drives that just, you know, respect. Like Hungary is a perfect example. That car didn't deserve to be there. And he was brilliant. And like I said, if Hamilton was doing that, that would be, like, even if the car was shit, it'd be like amazing, like fucking top tier. But he's not. So I think Alonso is still there. I really want to see Alonso actually like in a race winning car to see how far off his peak he is, because he's definitely has dropped. But it's just,
How far?
Alonso's, because like Alonso, the thing for me I go back to is like 2023. Alonso was a midfield driver before that, like as in the midfield. He got beaten by Ocon, but look at the bad luck he had there as well with DNFs and so on in the Alpine, for example. But then 2023, he gets a car that can be on the podium, and he's on the fucking podium pretty much every weekend. And then the car drops, and he's not on the podium anymore. So it seems to me like Alonso is still pretty good at like whatever the car can do. Alonso is going to be pretty close to that.
Yeah.
So whereas Hamilton, that's just not the case, because he's had Leclerc and George who've shown that that's not the case.
Yeah.
So
Where do you put Lewis?
below those, I don't know how far down I want to go, because I don't want to go crazy on it, but he's not in my top 10 this year. Let's put it that way.
In the last 3 years, roughly, if you have to put him in that category.
P8, P9 on the grid.
Okay, that's even lower than where I would go.
It's just because he's had a couple of peaks, but so have a lot of other drivers. So, like,
I can
Sainz
understand.
has had wins. Like, are we putting Sainz above that? Like, I don't know. Like,
Science is above Lewis.
I
At
think so
least.
too. But like,
Yeah.
my point is, people will be like, "Oh, what about this win and this win?" It's like, well, then what about Sainz's wins, for example? And you said,
My thing with Lewis is that having the best drivers in Formula One, like top 2, 3, that's what George and Leclerc are. They're making Lewis look a bit worse than he is. I think if he's put in a scenario where he's basically the lead driver, where everything is catered to him, that's why I said he should ideally, what he should do is he should just pack his bags from Ferrari, just jump to Audi, have blind faith in that project, and give it 3 years. Because look, if you want to invest your time, then invest it somewhere where you think it's going to be if somehow you luck into a good car, you will be able to win. That is something that your mindset needs to be. And if he does that, he jumps to Audi, builds the entire team around him, basically chucks off both Hulkenberg and Gabriel Bortoleto because they might beat him, puts in someone else, maybe brings in Bottas, and then they build the entire team around themselves, help the team grow, and if it reaches a point where they have the fastest car, he'll win. He'll win the championship.
Yep.
And I think to a certain extent, even Alonso has done that. We don't know exactly where he is in terms of performance, but I think it won't be a surprise if he's not on the level of your Max, Charles, George. Maybe.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where I think Lewis can, if he's willing to extend his career. If he comes from the school of thought where he has to be the best driver on the grid, if he's not, then he's done. Then I think it's time he's done. That's how I would put it.
Yeah. I don't think Lewis wants to have a like Alonso, like Seb post career, that way. Like, I think like Seb basically
Well,
when
they
he
are
left.
going on their own. They went on their own.
Yeah. But like, my point is,
Lewis might not.
I don't think Lewis wants to go to a midfield team and build it up. Like, I just don't think that's the case. Whereas I think Alonso was very much like the only thing he wanted to do was race, so he just came back year after year. Raikkonen was similar as well, just paycheck and like having some fun in cars. Fine.
Yeah.
Like, I'm happy with this. The occasional win or podium here or there is fine. I don't think
His
Lewis
kid
wants to
is
be that
making
driver.
waves.
Yeah.
His
I
kid
don't
is
think
making a
Lewis
lot of
wants to be
waves.
that driver, so I just don't think, I don't know. Like, yeah. He'll probably stick around though, because he won't want to give up, but
That's the thing. I don't think sticking around at Ferrari is the right way, but I
I don't think
if
he'll
he
have the
wants
option
to-
next year if this continues, frankly.
Okay, let's make a final prediction and then wrap it up with Lewis. How do you think his next 1 year from here goes? First,
don't
how
think-
this year ends, then how the next year begins. And by the summer break, where do you find him?
I don't think next year goes better for him. And let me correct. I think it goes better for him in terms of, I think it's a fresh slate and I think it'll help his confidence. But I think the comparison to Leclerc will still see him not do, like, he'll still be this far off Leclerc. And the reason I think that is, I think Hamilton is very much at the moment probably in the position of trying to push what he wants on the 2026 car. And I think that'll hurt his confidence when next year first of all, Ferrari fucked that up. And second of all, whatever car they get, Leclerc will just do what Leclerc does. It'll show up and it won't be perfectly to what Hamilton wants because it never will be. And Leclerc will adapt to it quicker than Hamilton will. And I think that, like what happened with Ricardo, will completely fucking destroy his confidence. And I think I could see things get worse. And that's where I think if he doesn't turn things around between now and midway through 2026, I don't see Ferrari keeping him on and keeping the option, because it's a lot of money for Ferrari when he's not beating their quote unquote number one driver, like, or, you know, maybe their number two driver, given on who's being paid more. So, like,
I think they'll buy him out or something. Cause
especially
I
if he
think
keeps
the
saying shit
option
like
is
this,
on
by the
him.
way. That's going to
Yeah.
be the biggest point.
Yeah.
Ferrari don't put up with that shit. I don't care who you are. Ferrari
Yeah,
just
they'll-
don't.
I mean, Kimi, 2009, right?
Yeah.
Basically paid him off.
Unless, like, if he can say shit when he's winning races every weekend. If he's not winning races every weekend, if he's underperforming Leclerc, it's like, stay quiet. Like, you're not, they're not going to put up with that.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah, I agree.
Hamilton's used to Mercedes, who put up with that. And
They put up with a lot of
Ferrari
bullshit,
won't.
honestly.
Yeah, Ferrari won't. So,
Yeah, I think by the time the season ends, I think the gap will increase in terms of points. I think Lewis, after the first few races, he's going to write off the season. Pretty much, that there'll be the same repeat of, because look, he's not going to invest a lot of energy on a car which is not going to be there next season anyways.
Yeah.
So he's not going to think it's worth the time. Then once the season ends, I think the next season is going to be the one where, in the first half of the season, if I'm right, I might be wrong completely. First of all, I don't see Ferrari having a good 2026.
no,
So they
neither do
won't
I.
be in a position to hold all the cards. First thing that's going to happen is, I think Charles is going to, if a seat opens up, I think he'll probably, by the first half of the season, he'll be done. And once he's done, I think that might give Lewis a bit of a lifeline in terms of continuing, because Ferrari would want some semblance of continuity.
Maybe.
Yeah. And at that point, I think entirely Lewis's future depends on who is going to replace Charles. Because if he's replaced by, I keep talking about it, if he's replaced by Max, which is not going to happen, as it seems, but if he's replaced by a Max or a George, or who else is Ferrari going to put? I don't think they're going to put Ollie Behrman, and he's too raw right now.
Unless Max and George are at Mercedes and they grab Kimi.
Mm-hmm.
Unlikely. But I mean, there's like, you're going to have like a very experienced Bortoletto by then, who I know will be at Audi, but I mean, he's, you know, there's, you know, Franco Colapinto, obviously, always going to be on the cards. I don't like. There's, who knows? Like, there's going to be a lot of options by next season, and like, you're also going to have.
I'm actually surprised.
You're going to have two new world champions as well. You know, like
two new world champions, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, by the end of 2026, you're saying?
Yeah. So, you know, you could have Alex Palou.
No, you're right. You're right about that, because. No, sorry. He's going to be at Red Bull. Sorry, I'm
Unless Red Bull are really shit and he beats Max, and then
that's a lot of things that have to happen.
Yeah. No, look, I don't know, but I don't know. I think the other thing Ferrari could do is a very Ferrari thing, which is by the end of next season, there's no Fred, no Leclerc, no Hamilton, and they're just like, we need a fresh start completely. This hasn't been going right.
But who is going to drive for them? The problem is, who's going to drive for them?
There's always drivers for Ferrari.
Ooh, as I said,
they'll bring Lauda back from the dead. Look, this is Ferrari.
Yeah. I think the Lewis Hamilton retirement is not a certainty. It depends if Leclerc stays at Ferrari, Lewis will not.
Yeah,
he'll be retired. If Leclerc is pulling the trigger early in 2026, that's when you see him basically really being pushed out. Yeah.
It also depends. He could turn things around next year. At the moment, I'm about as optimistic of Ferrari and Lewis Hamilton in 2026 as I was of Ferrari and Lewis Hamilton in 2025, which was not optimistic at all.
You know, the problem with all of this is, we saw Michael turn it around, because Michael's 2010 was poor. Again, he came in half cooked. Then 2011 was much better. I think he scored almost similar point. I think he was 10 points behind Nico.
Yeah.
By 2013, in terms of pace and performance, he was neck and neck with Nico. Mm-hmm. It was just that he was ridiculously unlucky in almost every race for the first half of the season. And that kind of made him just call time. He was tired. He didn't really want to spend
Yeah,
more time racing.
yeah.
So he did that by, and again, this is something that comes from James Vowles, by continuously working on the car, on himself, making improvements, and creating an environment where the team wanted him to win. I mean, this is what James says, right? In that clip that you shared, that the regret for James is that Michael never won a race with them for Mercedes.
Yeah.
And I don't think Lewis is that, he belongs to that category of drivers where they work their asses off, and in terms of having the technical acumen, they are able to do that, make those incremental gains. That's why I don't
He
think
also
he'll be able to do
just
that.
he seems unwilling. Like James Wells as well. He obviously didn't say it in these words, but it's like James Wells in that clip was, or in that podcast was like, Hamilton would go out on track and just like switch everything around until he got the car to move the way he wanted.
Yeah.
And like a lot of the conversations I've heard as well is like, yes, Lewis is a hard worker, but he's uncompromising with the team. So he's not like, he wants everything to move to how he wants it. And he's not kind of willing to meet the team in the middle. And with certain regulation sets and with certain, like if you don't have a big advantage in car in some way, you can't do that all the time. Like you need to adapt. So if you're unwilling to adapt, that just isn't going to work, you know? So,
Yeah. That's
and it just from everything we hear, Leclerc just hops in the car in FP1, says like, what's best from the data? And they're like, this is the best setup according to our, it's like, cool, I'll just get that to work. And then Hamilton finds himself spending the entire free practice sets and into qualifying trying to fiddle around with the setup.
Yeah, it's been years. Where
Same thing.
We've heard him say that we made the changes and the car got worse. You can literally use this code for almost every race last couple of years.
And I think the problem is like in similar to say Red Bull in 2023, you've got a car that can operate still being the fastest in quite a wide window. And the way a Mercedes engineer used to talk, I can't remember his name now, but he used to talk to, he always said like Mercedes always started with trying to have as wide a window as possible and then narrowing it in. I think it was, and maybe it was Red Bull that did that. But anyway, they had quite a wide operating window generally. So he could operate within that with, bringing it to his style. Whereas with these cars, you don't have that wide operating window, especially when they're so close. So like it's either adapt or you don't. And
yeah, it's the don't right now.
At the moment, he's just unwilling or unable. And I'm starting to think it's unable.